Hello, welcome to the Be the Sun, Not the Salt podcast. I'm Connie Fontaine, joined by my friend, Dr. Harry Cohen.
So this podcast is different than anything we've ever done. And it is the origin story. How did we come together to do this? Why did I write this book? Why are we doing this podcast? And a whole lot of other questions that we get asked. And we thought it would be a good idea to share. Well, here's how this came about.
Yeah, and I think some people are surprised. I think there's this general understanding that, oh, Harry, you must have had this aha moment, this magical experience that you said, aha, I'm going to write this book. And that's not really the way it came about. So we think that's maybe the best place to start is, how did the book come about?
So I did this TED Talk in 2015 and ended the TED Talk with leave people with an afterglow, not an aftertaste, be the sun, not the salt. I had no idea that I would write a book at that moment. No idea. So 2 years after that TED Talk, I started to think about how I could leave the world something valuable. My kids could have the lessons of my life in a compendium of something that would be a timeless, and you always tease me about this,
a timeless toilet read.
And you say, don't
say that. Okay, well, I've said it. I've told the world.
I know,
but are you self-reflecting on life and longevity? Because I think that's really what you just said, is you started to think, I need to leave something behind.
And if I'm going to leave something behind, what would it be? Like a collection of all of, like, here's the lessons of my life in one little pile. And I started writing down what I thought would be, okay, that's one, turn a page. That's one, turn a page. That. And then I collected 30 in the idea that 30 sounds like a good number. 30 days of a month, they could be reminders. I don't want to write 100.
Right.
Like, there's more than 10. Okay. So then I wrote this thing, and then
could I stop you on that? Because I want people to know, because I think that also says something about you. The thought that they needed to be simple little reminders is something that I feel like I've known you for however, I don't even like to say 35 years, 30 years, whatever it's been. I think what differentiates this book, your story, your coaching style, is making something that's science-based, something that's a fact, into something simple, that's catchy, memorable, and quite frankly, more important, valuable. It's not something that isn't important. You don't waste your time with that. So I think that's what got you to that simple little, these are going to be short chapters. It's going to be a little.
And I know that I read stuff and can't remember anything. And so less is always more. And if I can say more by saying less, I have done some good. And that continual challenge is, I'm never done with that. This podcast is an extension of that. I want to try and say more by saying less.
Right.
So let me just get to how I met Connie and how I brought Connie into this. Now, I don't remember exactly, Con. You'll have to remind me. I remember the moment where I was giving a talk at NADA for a whole group of people, and you came up to me afterwards, and I was talking about heliotropic leadership, and you said, "This is $1 billion brand." You said it with such clarity and confidence, and sort of like, "Oh my God, this the world needs to know." And I remember going, yeah, I think it's good. But I don't know if it's $1 billion brand, but I love the way you articulated that, and your marketing mind expertise I was attracted to. But let me just tell the world why I said, I want you in on this. And I paid you.
You did, out of your own pocket.
Out of my own pocket, big dollars, because you were retired from Ford and you were making big dollars. And I said, I'll pay you that. I want you to help me package it, market. The metaphor for me was, it took 10 years for people to accept sliced bread. Okay, package this. Help me make this more appealing to the world, so that more people can get it in the sliced bread metaphor. And I remember that moment And then I took the raw material, and I had lots of people help me with each chapter, getting feedback, and then I gave it to you, and you'd give it to a whole team of people who would clean it up and edit it and send it back to me, and I'd say, yeah, those are not my words. That's not how I would
Yeah.
say it. And
Yeah, really, really important for people to know. This is several years ago. So the
yeah,
fact that our stories are a little different is really interesting to me. But again, it's several years ago. I remember, so this is the real first time I heard you say, because my favorite is leave them with an afterglow, not an aftertaste. And then be the sun, not the salt, just as that's the exclamation point at the end. But it was I was consulting, and it was at that forum with For Direct that you spoke. And you were sitting next to me in the front row because we'd said, "Hi, oh my gosh, so good to see you." And we were sitting, I sat, and when you said those words at the end, I thought, this spoke to me so clearly, because it's why I loved working for certain people and with certain people. It helped me kind of understand it with those behaviors. It's the positive energizers in my life that made my life better. And I remember saying that should be on t-shirts all over the world. And we've had subsequent conversations where we've talked about billion-dollar brand, and that's what we want this to be, not because we want to make $1 billion, but because we want to share this with so many people.
and so I remember that presentation, but I thought it was at NADA.
I went with you to NADA.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
But why I wanted you on this podcast to host this with me, certainly I could have done this podcast without you.
Mhm.
And why I wanted you on this podcast is several reasons. I don't know if I've ever told you this, but it is because of who you are, but also all that you've done in your life as both a marketer and as a wife, a mother, a friend, and now a grandmother, a woman. You bring a perspective, a woman of a certain age. We can't say
Oh, sure we
you're
can.
mature.
I'm 60. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, you're young. And that being said, all of those perspectives, I think, add a dimension that I can never bring. And I wanted that perspective in this messaging to the world. So you work at being a gooder person, and you're all of those things. So I wanted you to make me and it and this better so that it's more approachable for more people.
I love that. I mean, and I so much, first of all, I love that message and thank you. I also, as a partnership, we bring so many different things, and yet both of us have this curiosity and desire to be better, our best self, a little bit better every day, willing to be vulnerable and talk about our strengths, our weaknesses, the things that we're challenged by. And that's what makes it fun.
and real and ever new. How do we explain this more better? How do we get this messaging to more people more effectively with a sticky, useful, change your life message? You and I were talking earlier about reviewing all the podcasts that we've done. We've done 50 of them, and thinking about all the interviews that we've done without looking back or listening to them. We were talking about, well, what's the lesson you remember from that one? We were rattling off one sentence or one phrase ideas. And that's what I want this whole thing to be, like life-changing ideas and sentences that, oh, that's all I need to know. Boom.
Yeah. And you were talking about the editing process, which was really interesting. And I love looking back at some of the historical documents and things that we did to get to where we got to. But one of the things that was a pivotal moment for us, and I'm sure you will remember this in context at least, was there was a lot of discussion around, isn't the title too long? The website URL will be too long. It's too long for people to recall, be the sun, not the salt. And you were very steadfast in, this cannot be the sun. Without not the salt, it's not as meaningful. And I think we've been very resolute in making sure that our work for ourselves and for our listeners and for our followers is very much to both. Sometimes it's easier to be the sun than to fight being the salt.
And I'll tell you, one of the greatest lessons that I still continue to learn and learn to this day, it is not enough to be the sun. Not being the salt is equal or more important than being the sun. And that, in those moments to moments earlier during this recording, I was getting really crusty and frustrated because we couldn't get the the recording
Technology.
portion. Are you ready? You up for it? And I said, yes. I said, I've been sitting here for half an hour. You said, well, we all have. To that point, yes. And so let's emotionally regulate. Let's turn it up and let's do the next right thing and let's make something good out of this. I mean, I love this. I never get tired of talking about it and finding better ways to talk about it so that it goes in and sticks for more people, myself mostly.
I agree. And I think we just saw a note from a colleague this morning that came to all of us saying, thank you for doing what you do. And he was very specific about some of the things that have spoken to him in the podcast. And I made a big difference to me because we often are talking about how we're changing and we don't always hear from listeners. We do. We get some great stories, but every morning, every time we get one, it's uplifting for us knowing that we're doing something that's making an impact.
That's all we want to do is make a positive impact, leave people with that afterglow, not an aftertaste. I'm always concerned about talking too much. So let me ask you, have we said everything we need to say, or should we say some more?
I think we've done it justice. It's been a great journey. We've got 58,000 books out in the world. We've got a podcast that people are listening to and sharing and getting excited about. And more importantly, I'm a better person than when I started this journey. And I think you would say the same.
And not only that, I was just giving a talk this past week. And I just learned this new idea, which is when someone says, I love that book, great, give it to somebody else. I mean, don't keep it. Go get your own, give it to somebody else. And, there's no downside.
Nope. So in that vein, please share this podcast, share it with family, friends, and anyone that you think would love this message. It's BeTheSun, NotTheSalt.com. Have a great day. Thanks for listening.